My wife booked a weekend in Miami with her ex and called it just friends. That was the morning my marriage kept talking, but my respect for it quietly walked out the door. My name's Mark Turner. I'm 36, run operations for a distribution company out of Orlando, and if you're hearing this, it's because I finally decided to turn a bad story into a useful one. If you're a man who's ever been told you're controlling for having basic boundaries, hit subscribe, like the video, whatever keeps this floating in the algorithm, because you're about to recognize a lot. Started on a Tuesday that smelled like normal. Coffee, toast, the hum of the dishwasher. My favorite chipped mug, dark blue with a crack running through the handle, was cooling on the counter. Sun coming in at that angle makes the sink look cleaner than it actually is. Jenna was scrolling her phone, leaning against the island, hair up, still in that oversized t-shirt she steals from my side of the closet. "Hey," she said casual, not looking up. "So, Ryan invited me to Miami this weekend. There's a lag your brain makes when it hears something that doesn't fit your life. First it sorts. Ryan who? Then it lands. Ryan Cole, college ex. The one who used to not matter anymore." I blinked. "Come again." She laughed like I'd misheard a joke. "Ryan. You remember Ryan. From UCF. He's gonna be in Miami for a conference, and he thought it'd be fun if I came down. Just for the weekend. As friends." She said as friends like it was a legal disclaimer. I just stared at her for a second, waiting for the punchline. "You're married," I said. "To me. You want to fly to Miami and stay with your ex." "Not stay with him," she snapped, already on defense. "We'd have adjoining suites. 2 rooms. Ocean view but like connected. It's not a big deal, Mark. Married people are allowed to have friends." "Sure," I said. "Friends. But this isn't brunch. It's a beach weekend with your ex in adjoining hotel rooms." She rolled her eyes. "You barely even remember him." That part annoyed me more than the Miami part. "No," I said slowly. "I remember him just fine. I remember you crying over him in my Honda before we were even official. I remember you telling me he messed you up." "That was years ago," she said. "This is healthy. People evolve. You're making it weird." "I'm not making it weird," I answered. Voice calm, hands steady. "It is weird. Any guy at my job hears this? They're gonna assume you're cheating or trying to. That's how it looks." "There it is," she said, lips tightening. "Insecurity. Control. God, Mark, do you hear yourself? I'm telling you I want to maintain friendships and not lose myself in this marriage. And you're acting like I'm running off to elope." I let her words sit there. Insecurity. Control. The labels women throw on anything that inconveniences their fun. "This isn't about losing yourself," I said. "It's about respect. You don't book a romantic city with an ex and expect your husband to clap for it." She folded her arms. "Well, I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you what I'm doing. You can either trust me or prove you don't." That was the moment the slide happened. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just clarity. I looked at my mug, picked it up, and poured the coffee straight into the sink. The mug made a soft, empty sound when I set it down, on the opposite side of the counter from hers. No yelling. No speech. I grabbed my keys, walked past her, and didn't kiss her goodbye. That tiny space between the mugs, that was the first visible crack in what used to be us. The temperature in the house dropped without the thermostat moving. Tuesday afternoon at work, I sat in my office pretending to care about freight schedules and inventory backlogs while my brain replayed that kitchen scene on a loop. Every time I tried to focus, I heard her again. "I'm not asking for permission." On my lunch break, I checked my phone, more out of habit than hope. New email preview from Jenna. Subject: Miami confirmed. I opened it. She'd forwarded me her itinerary for transparency. Flight times, hotel name, reservation code. The kind of thing you'd send your husband if you were trying to prove you had nothing to hide, except it was copied from an email thread with Ryan. His original line sat right there at the bottom. "Can't wait to catch up properly. Miami's always better with you here." I stared at that palm tree emoji for a long time. It wasn't the graphic. It was the tone. Nostalgia, entitlement, like my wife was some recurring vacation habit. I didn't respond. Back at her downtown marketing agency, she was probably spinning this as reconnecting with my past between campaigns and coffee runs. Coworkers hyping her up for being so independent. I know that type of office. I've seen their Instagrams. When I got home that night, the silence had an edge. Jenna was at the table, laptop open, glass of white wine sweating on a coaster. She looked up like nothing was wrong. "Hey, long day." "Normal," I said, hanging my keys. "You?" "Productive." She watched me, waiting for me to raise my voice, start the scene she'd rehearsed for in her head. When I didn't, she frowned. "We should talk about this morning." "We should," I agreed. I sat across from her, not touching her hand, not softening the landing. "You realize how this looks from the outside, right? Married woman, beach city, ex-boyfriend, adjoining rooms. You know what story that tells." She took a breath, already annoyed. "From the outside? You mean to your brothers and your mom? To the guys at your job?" "Mark, I'm not going to live my life based on gossip." "It's not gossip," I said calmly. "It's pattern recognition. If a man said he was going to Miami with an ex, every woman you know would call it disrespectful. But I pointed out and suddenly I'm controlling." She rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. It's been a few days. We're adults." That was the fork in the road right there. Argue harder or step back. I stood up. "I'm not fighting you over it." She blinked, thrown. "So, you're okay with it?" "No," I picked up my phone and wallet. "I'm not okay with it. I'm just done trying to convince you it's wrong. You've already decided what it is. I'm deciding what to do with that." "Which is what?" She pushed. I walked down the hallway, opened the guest room door, and flicked on the light. The bed was made neutral and anonymous. No photos on the walls, no history. "I think we need space," I said over my shoulder. "You want independence? Here's some physical room to go with it." Her voice shifted, sharp and offended. "So now you're punishing me?" "No," I answered, dropping my overnight stuff on the dresser. "I'm adjusting." That night, lying in the unfamiliar bed, I made the mistake of opening Instagram. Top of my feed, Jenna's story. Warm filter, orange-pink sky over our neighborhood. Captioned, "Sometimes you need to revisit the past to appreciate the present." The sting wasn't just the words. It was a performance. My marriage was reduced to vague self-help captions for strangers. I watched the little list of viewers climbing, coworkers, a couple of my cousins, even her mother. Then the little heart icon popped up. "Valerie Reed liked your wife's story." Of course she did. Over the next couple days, small details started blinking like warning lights on a dashboard. A new folder on our shared laptop labeled Household. A calendar reminder I didn't set for a downtown office building. The printer hummed late at night when I knew we weren't out of anything. And Valerie on speaker, her voice bright. "I'm proud of you, honey. Don't let a man stifle you. You're allowed to live." The hurt was still there, but something underneath it shifted. It stopped feeling like heartbreak and started feeling like prep work. Friday morning, I went back to being polite. Not loving, not warm, just a functional. I poured her coffee the way she likes it. 2 sugars, a splash of oat milk, and set it on the island without looking at her too long. She hovered, waiting for a fight she could clip into a story about jealous husbands. "Thanks," she said carefully. "You're being weird." "I'm being clear," I answered. "You know where I stand. You're still going." So I adjusted. That bothered her more than any argument. Anger she could flip into martyrdom. Calm? That just left her alone with the facts. She dragged her suitcase to the door, checked her phone, then gave me this half-hearted, performative smile. "I'll text you when I land." "Okay," I said. "Have a safe flight." No hug, no kisses, no last-minute plea. After she left, the house sounded wrong. Too big, too quiet. I stood in the same kitchen where we used to plan trips together, budget spreadsheets, hotel reviews, arguing over window or aisle seats. My phone buzzed. Jenna Turner added to her story. I tapped it open. Photo of her boarding pass, nails wrapped around a to-go latte, a cropped shot of her legs in airport seating. Caption: Miami-bound #weekend vibes. I could see my own reflection in the black of the phone screen, standing alone by the sink. I took a breath, hit the side buttons, and heard the quiet click of the first screenshot. That evening, while she was in the sky, I did what I always do: handled things. Laundry, dishes, trash out. Checked on an overdue bill. The small, boring stuff that keeps a life running. Later, I walked past our bedroom, stopped at the doorway, and stared at the bed. Neatly made, both pillows untouched. I closed the door and went back to the guest room instead. Around 9, my phone lit again. Jenna's latest post. Rooftop pool, Miami skyline behind her. She was in a white bikini I'd never seen before, sunglasses on, leaning close to a guy holding a drink. Ryan Cole. Older now, but the same smug grin. Caption: Good company, better views. Her mother commented first. You deserve this, baby. Coworkers followed with fire emojis and Yas Queen nonsense. I didn't text, didn't call, didn't ask questions I already knew the answers to. I just took another screenshot, dropped it into a fresh folder on my desktop, and renamed it Miami Exhibit A Rooftop. This is how my brain works under pressure. Not louder, sharper. Saturday played out like a split screen in my head. On her side, palm trees, ocean, and a man she once claimed didn't matter. On mine, a quiet house, a laptop, and the realization that I wasn't just embarrassed. I was being handed evidence. Her first post of the day hit before 11 a.m. Boomerang of clinking glasses, orange-pink drinks, pool in the background. Caption: Vacation mode on. Ryan commented, Miami looks better on you. Her reply: You always say that. Screenshot. Saved. Logged. Midday, another one. Different angles of the same rooftop pool, this time closer. She'd swapped the white bikini for a turquoise one. Also new, with a caption that read, Feeling alive. He dropped, She belongs here. Her coworker, This energy. Her mother again, Love seeing you shine. I started seeing it less as my wife acting out and more as a public record with timestamps. So I opened Excel. New file. Miami_log.xlsx columns. Date. Time. Platform. Type. Photo/story/reel. Caption. Location. People are visible. Comments worth noting. Likes from family. Likes from my coworkers. Link. Every time something new went up, I'd log it. Not in a rage, just steady, like updating inventory. I added another tab and labeled it Contradictions. That's where I pasted old texts. Her calling Ryan, a mistake I'd never repeat. Me asking if she still talked to him, her saying, God, no. That chapter's closed. Afternoon, a selfie video. She and Ryan at some bar by the water. Music loud, neon lights in the background. Ryan raised his drink. To the people who remind us we're still alive, he said. Jenna threw her head back and laughed into the camera, leaning into his shoulder like gravity pulled her there. Caption: Cheers to friendship and freedom. I watched it twice, logged it, saved it to a folder inside the folder, video_evidence. By dusk, my embarrassment had burned off and cooled into something else. Not bitterness, not even sadness. Strategy. Around midnight, after the last post, a blurry shot of their feet in the sand, 2 sets way too close. I finally scrolled to my brother's name. Mark. Call me when you're ready to talk strategy. He replied in under a minute. Jason. Been waiting for you to say that. I set the phone down, stared at the ceiling of the guest room, and told myself the truth. I wasn't hoping she'd come to her senses anymore. I was planning how to end this properly. Sunday, I didn't wait at home for her. Jenna's flight was due in mid-afternoon. Instead of pacing the living room like some anxious golden retriever, I drove to my mother's house with a pan of store-bought potato salad and a cooler in the back seat. Family barbecue. Normal cover, different purpose. When I walked into Mom's kitchen, she gave me that look. Soft eyes, tight mouth. You okay, baby? She asked, hand on my shoulder. I didn't sugarcoat it. I showed her the rooftop photo, the bikini, and the comments. I watched her face change. Hurt first, then anger on my behalf. "You don't deserve this," she said quietly. "You are a good man. Don't let her spin this like you're crazy." In the backyard, Jason and our younger brother Chris were already by the grill. They'd seen everything without me sending a single screenshot. Mutual follows. Connected circles. That's the problem with public sin. It travels. Jason shook his head. She really posted all that while married? With her name still Turner? Apparently, I said. Chris wasn't as controlled. I swear. If that dude ever shows his face in Orlando, Jason cut him off. Relax. We're not doing stupid. We're doing smart. He glanced at me. Are you still documenting? Every post, I said. Spreadsheet. Folder. Timeline. He smirked. Good. By the time Jenna's car pulled up, the whole backyard knew the story. Not dramatized. Just facts. She walked through the gate in jeans and a loose top, hair pulled back, suitcase still in her trunk. For a second, she expected the usual. My mom's hug, Chris's joke, Jason's nod. Instead, she got tight smiles and quiet. Hey, she said slowly. What's with the funeral energy? Mom was at the picnic table setting out plates. Sit, she told everyone. Then, more pointed, we're saying grace. We never say grace at barbecues. She bowed her head anyway. Lord, thank you for family, for loyalty, and for people who remember what commitment looks like. Then she opened her eyes and looked straight at Jenna on the word commitment. Jenna's jaw moved, but she didn't say anything. Halfway through the meal, my sister-in-law caught my eye and gave me a private, sympathetic nod. I didn't need sympathy, but I took the confirmation. I wasn't crazy. This looked bad to everyone. Later, Jason pulled Jenna aside under the big oak tree. From where I sat, I couldn't hear every word, but his tone was calm, almost professional. Lawyer voice, even though he's in finance. Social media is permanent, I heard him say. Mark's document. You're building a record, whether you mean to or not. Her posture changed, less swagger, more nerves. She kept glancing back at me like I'd betrayed her. After dessert, she cornered me near the side gate. So this is how it is now? She demanded. You turned my in-laws against me? You just sit there letting them judge me? I met her eyes. I didn't have to turn anyone. They can see. You posted it for all of them. You're mad, she pushed, needing the drama. I shook my head. No, I'm done trying to make you see what you refuse to see. Big difference. Something in her expression cracked then. Not guilt, not yet, just fear that the usual script wasn't working. She left that night feeling judged and misunderstood. I left knowing one thing very clearly. If this went to court, I wouldn't be walking in alone. After the barbecue, everything got very simple. I moved fully into the guest room. Not in a dramatic huff, just carried my clothes in 2 armfuls, put my watch on the nightstand, and shut the door. The main bedroom became a museum exhibit, where I used to sleep before my wife turned our marriage into content. Nights got longer, but they stopped feeling pointless. I cleared the small desk in the corner, set my laptop down, pulled out a legal pad and a pack of sticky notes. Then I went to work. I printed the screenshots, every rooftop photo, every flirty caption, every "you deserve this" comment. Hole punched them, slide them into clear sleeves. Binder 1, auto. Titles, insurance, loan papers. Binder 2, bank. Statements, joint accounts, my separate savings. Binder 3, household. Mortgage, utilities, anything with both names on it. Binder 4, thickest of them all, Miami. I wasn't just stockpiling dirt. I was building a timeline. When you treat chaos like a project, it loses some of its power. Jenna started hovering in the doorway around midnight. Mark, can we talk about us? She asked one night, arms folded. We are talking, I said, eyes on the screen. You're punishing me. You're acting like I cheated. I didn't. I just took a trip. You're twisting it into something else because you're paranoid. I paused, then rotated the laptop toward her. Rows and columns stared back. Dates, times, captions, locations, who liked and commented. Side by side with older texts where she swore Ryan was ancient history. "This is not paranoia," I said quietly. "This is documentation. Memory lies. Data doesn't." She scoffed. "You sound insane. You're controlling every move I make and then building a case like I'm a criminal. That's abusive, Mark." I looked past her, straight at you, the guy watching this. "That right there," I said, "is what gaslighting looks like. You set a reasonable boundary. They cross it. Then they tell you the problem is your reaction, not their behavior." Later, when she went to bed alone, I stepped outside and called two people. First, my best friend, Owen. From the outside, I asked, "What does this look like?" "Like she's single and doesn't respect you," he said. "If you divorce her, nobody's gonna be surprised." Second, her sister, Ashley. Risky but important. I sent her a couple screenshots. She called back in 5 minutes, voice low. "Yeah," she said. "This looks bad." I've told her that. She thinks you won't actually do anything. One more call after that. Number for a downtown office I'd seen on a reminder note I'd written myself. I didn't say to Jenna, "I'm talking to an attorney." I let the printer hum at 1:30 a.m., let the binder stack higher on the guest room dresser, let the sticky note sit where she could see it. Tuesday, 11:50 a.m., forms. For the first time in our marriage, I stopped rushing to soothe the consequences she'd brought on herself. By Tuesday, forms had a name and an address. Downtown, 12th floor, glass doors that opened too quietly. The plaque said family law, but the woman behind the desk might as well have been labeled exit strategy. I walked in on my lunch break with a USB drive in my pocket and the Miami binder under my arm. No theatrics. Just another task between warehouse reports and vendor calls. The attorney, mid-40s, sharp eyes, no fluff, greeted me, glanced at the binder and said, "Rough weekend." "You could say that," I answered, sliding the USB across her desk. "Everything you need is on there. Screenshots, videos, timestamps, plus a log." She plugged it in, clicked through a few files, then actually let out a low whistle when she hit the rooftop pool shot. "Married?" she asked. 7 years, I said. "Children?" "No." "Joint property?" "House, some accounts." "I documented those too." She nodded, already in motion. "Okay, Mark, here's what we're going to do. Uncontested petition if possible. You as a petitioner. We attach these as exhibits, A through whatever we need. We'll get witness statements from your brother Jason, your friend Owen, maybe her sister Ashley if she's willing. We'll highlight your financial stability, her public behavior, and your attempts to set boundaries." She said it like she'd done this 100 times, and I realized she probably had. "This doesn't have to be messy," she added. "But it does need to be clear." "That's all I want," I said. "Clean and proper." While she talked about service options and temporary orders, I felt something loosen in my chest. Not relief, just alignment. My actions finally matched reality. That night at home, Jenna was pacing. "My mom says this is emotional abuse," she said. "You move into the guest room, printing things, acting like some detective. She says you're being passive-aggressive on purpose. You'd never actually divorce me. You're not that guy. It's too expensive. Too risky." Hearing that secondhand, Valerie feeding her the script that I was bluffing, didn't hurt. It helped. She started crying then, real tears this time. "Please don't do something legal, Mark. We can go to counseling. We can reset. I didn't cheat. I just went too far. Don't blow up our whole life over a misunderstanding." I sat on the edge of the guest bed, hands resting on my knees. "The time to fix this," I said quietly, "was before you booked the trip, before the rooftop photos, before you turned our marriage into a stage show for your followers." She shook her head, reaching for me. "So that's it? You're just giving up?" "I'm done competing with your need for applause," I said. "I'm not angry, Jenna. I'm just finished." When she finally left the room, I pulled open the drawer of the nightstand, placed the labeled USB drive next to my watch, and locked it. From that night on, I wasn't a husband trying to save a marriage. I was a man preparing to end it with his dignity intact. Tuesday at 11:50 a.m. had been written on that sticky note for a week. Courthouse Plaza. Bright sun, light wind, the kind of Florida day people take engagement photos on. I parked 2 blocks away, walked in with my shirt tucked, binder in hand, and my brother was already waiting near the steps. Jason nodded at me. "You good?" "I'm clear," I said. Owen leaned against a pillar, sunglasses on, arms crossed. Ashley stood a little off to the side, nervous but steady. My mother, Linda, was there too. Back straight, eyes red but dry. We weren't a mob. We were witnesses. The process server, a woman in a gray blazer, held a folder with my name on the tab. "She knows you're here?" she asked. "She thinks I'm at work," I said. "But she's been watching me like a hawk. I'd bet money she's not far." I was right. Across the plaza, I saw her. Jenna, in jeans and a blouse, hair fixed, no work bag. She'd called in sick and followed me downtown, expecting to catch me doing something vague and suspicious. She saw Jason first, then Mom, then the others. Confusion hit her face, then dread. "Mark," she called, walking closer. "What is this? Why is everyone here?" I didn't raise my voice. "Come here for a second." She stopped about 10 feet away, eyes darting between the folder, the binder, and my family. "What are you doing?" The process server stepped forward. "Jenna Turner?" "Yes," she said automatically. "You've been served." She handed her the thick envelope. Jenna stared at it like it was rigged to explode. Then she opened it. Right on top, the petition for dissolution of marriage. Behind it, the first exhibit, her own Miami Post, printed on full-page gloss, labeled in neat black ink. Exhibit A, rooftop pool. Flip. Exhibit B, texts Miami planning, Ryan. Screenshots of her joking about adjoining rooms. Flip. Exhibit C, hotel charges. Upgraded suite, champagne, late-night room service for 2. At the back, drafted witness statements. 1 from Jason, 1 from Owen, 1 from Ashley, 1 from a hotel employee who confirmed the adjoining suites check-in and the do not disturb signs staying up late. Phones were out, some of my relatives, a couple strangers. Not because I wanted drama, but because this is the world we live in. She'd betrayed me publicly. I chose to end it the same way. You served me?" she stammered, looking up. "In front of them? Are you serious, Mark? We could have gone to therapy. We could have." "You cheated publicly," I said evenly. "You mocked our marriage publicly. I'm just matching the energy." "I didn't cheat," she half yelled, voice cracking. It wasn't like that. I just went too far. Please, can't we try counseling? Don't do this. Don't make it legal." "Already is legal," Jason muttered. I kept my eyes on her. "This isn't about whether you crossed some technical line in a hotel room. It's about patterns, disrespect, contempt. I'm not going to build a life with someone who treats my boundaries like a joke." Mom stood behind me, hand over her mouth, but she didn't step in. Nobody did. The process server pointed to where I needed to sign for confirmation. I signed, pen steady. Then I closed the binder, nodded once to my family, and turned away. Behind me, Jenna stood in the middle of the plaza clutching an envelope thick with her own posts, her own words, her own choices, finally printed and handed back to her as consequences. By the time the court date rolled around, the house didn't feel like home anymore. My side of the closet was empty. The main bedroom had that staged, hollow look, like it was waiting to be photographed for a listing. The guest room, the place I'd retreated to when everything started, turned into a halfway zone. Boxes labeled with my name. Binders stacked in a neat row. The suitcase is open on the floor. The divorce itself was quiet, uncontested. 30 days, signatures, a judge who'd seen so many endings mine barely registered as a ripple. No dramatic speeches, just irretrievably broken on paper and a stamp that made it real. That evening, I stood in my mom's backyard, the same place we'd had that tense barbecue. Sun dropping behind the trees, Sky painted in soft orange. I took out my phone, snapped a simple photo. Caption: grateful for the people who still understand loyalty. I posted it, then put the phone down on the porch rail. When I checked later, the names in the likes told their own story. Guys I worked with, cousins. A couple of her coworkers who'd seen the Miami mess and decided silence was a choice they weren't making. Even Ashley. Meanwhile, Jenna sat alone in the old house. Now just her house. With a court file that boiled her entire defense down to, I didn't technically cheat. I just went too far. No binder fixes that. I thought about everything on those shelves. Auto, bank, household, Miami. It all felt less like revenge and more like an audit I'd finally finished. Painful? Sure. But necessary. You don't keep a partnership open once the math stops adding up. Where did I screw up? I didn't listen to my gut. I let modern relationship slogans talk over basic respect. I treated my discomfort like a glitch instead of a warning light. Won't happen again. So if you're watching this and being told you're insecure for not wanting your wife in a bikini with her ex in another city, hear me clearly. That's not insecurity. That's a boundary. There's a difference between forgiveness and self-betrayal. I didn't just lose a wife in this. I got myself back. And I'm not putting myself up for negotiation ever again.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.